All right. You ready to roll?
You're rolling.
You're rolling. We are rolling. We are live. Where are we at?
We're on the last plague.
Where's that?
What, like, chapter 13.
Nope. You both are wrong. There's one chapter in between those two.
12.
So we had an 11 and a 13. We totally skipped where we're actually at.
Well, let's see here. I'm actually in Leviticus.
Yeah, you're going way too fast. But that's okay. If you read it now, you can come back and actually study it, right?
That's what I've been doing.
All right, so we're in chapter 12. We're on the very last plague. Anybody got any questions or thoughts or comments from what we've already read? Anybody?
Did you figure out one of the things that we were talking about last week?
I don't know. We talk about a whole lot.
But against none of the children of Israel shall a dog move its tongue.
Oh, no. I thought we already figured that out, though.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed it.
It was like barking or something is what one of the translations was, biting or barking or something. So I think it was like against none of the children of Israel will they bite you. Yeah. Will anything hurt them? I think's what it was meaning. I think that's what we talked about last week. I didn't get a time to go back and look again, but I think I just kind of trusted that y'all told me the right thing. You know, kind of like y'all do when you leave here after I get done preaching. You just trust that I told you the right thing. Sometimes I'm wrong. I know, right? Oh, now you tell me. All right. We're in chapter 12. We're just going to go ahead and get started and hopefully get out of here before it's too late. We got some bus drivers back here that have to start work early in the morning.
Maybe they ought to get a new job.
I know, right?
Well, better hours.
Better hours.
Less pay.
Wow. All right. Exodus chapter 12. Exodus chapter 12. Now the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, "This month shall be your beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, on the 10th of this month, every man shall take for himself a lamb, according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household." Remember, one lamb, okay? One lamb per household, okay? And as we would also know, during this time, right, some households are going to be bigger than other households, right? Some households are going to be huge, okay? Consisting of maybe 100 people or more. Okay, some of the households are big. You got a whole, back then, kids lived with mom and dad and grandkids lived with mom and dad, and they had lots of kids and lots of, so some of these households are going to be massive, right? And some households are going to be pretty small, okay? I mean, they're going to be like, a husband and wife just starting out with no kids at all, right? So some of it's going to be really small, which of course would mean some households got a really nice meal, right? Some households only got a bite or two, okay? And some would have like half a lamb. If you're starting out, right? You're going to have a whole half of a lamb, okay? And so as to not make someone gorge themselves or eat too much. We've all done that a few times, right? I know, right? I still do too. And boy, it sure don't make you feel. You don't feel like traveling when you eat a whole lot, do you, Gary? And so in order not to do this, right, God throws in verse 4, Okay? He says, and if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of the persons, according to each man's need. You shall make your count for the lamb. And so he's saying here, if you don't have enough people to eat the whole lamb, right? Don't waste it. Don't gorge yourself, but share it with a neighbor. Man, that's a wonderful idea, isn't it? I know, Gary. Man, next time y'all have a great big old mess of beans and taters, you know who to call, because you're not gorge yourself on them. You need to call your neighbor. I don't know. I don't know who that would be. But I know you need to call him, whoever he is. But anyway, he says, don't waste it. Don't try to gorge yourself, but share it with a neighbor that you may be able to share it with. And then he goes on here telling them what they're supposed to do, okay? And how they're supposed to do it. It's very technical, if you want to say that, okay? He says, your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats. Now you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. How long was he supposed to keep it? Come on, y'all, paying attention. How long are we supposed to keep it? No? You got it. 4 days. 4 days. Remember, it was the 10th day of the month when they start. And then he says on the 14th day of the same month, okay, says, so what I want you to do is I want you to go out on the 10th day and I want you to pick out the best of the best. And then I want you to set it aside for 4 days. And then he tells them, then the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel. I don't think y'all understand this, okay? Reading this can really mess with your mind, okay? The whole assembly of the congregation of Israel, all of them, every single one of them, at the very same time, okay, shall kill it at twilight. Talk about a bloodbath.
No doubt, right?
Now, do you know how many families there were? No. No. How many lambs do you think would have been killed at the very same time?
I'm sure they drained the blood and kept the
You're
blood.
way out there. Take a look at verse 37. Verse 37. Somebody read it.
Then the children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, besides children.
600,000 men. Yes. I would then care to guess that there may have been like maybe 500,000, maybe more. Okay, like 500,000 lambs slaughtered at the very same time. Oh my goodness. Man, I'm telling you, this could be it's like a gruesome time for them to do this all at the same time, okay? It gets worse as they go into the altar and the sacrifices and all that. But this is pretty bad in and of itself, okay? 500,000 lambs slaughtered at the exact same time.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they probably drained blood because they used it for things. So it wasn't just a bloody mess.
Right. They cut the heads off and drained them, or however they did it. I don't know how they did it, but yeah, they did. Anyway, verse 7. And they shall take some of the blood, put it on the 2 doorposts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat it. Then they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire with unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Do not eat it raw, nor boiled at all with water, but roasted in fire, its heads with its legs and its entrails. You shall let none of it remain until morning. See there? He didn't want anybody to waste anything. He tells them, eat it all. Everything that you kill, eat it all. And what you don't eat, what you don't finish, what remains of it until morning, you shall burn with fire. That's why he told them, like, don't just two people cut up one whole lamb and waste a bunch of it. You know, share it with somebody, okay? He says, and thus you shall eat it with a belt on your waist, sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hands, so you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt on that night, and will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. Now the blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. Y'all get that? I will pass over you. The pass over meal, okay? I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be on you, to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. So this day shall be to you a memorial, and you shall keep it as a feast to the Lord. Throughout your generations you shall keep it as a feast by an everlasting ordinance. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses. For whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that person shall be cut off from Israel. On the first day there shall be a holy convocation. Anybody know what that word means? Anybody?
I don't.
It means basically a celebration. It's a holy celebration. Okay? It's going to be a party. Okay? A holy convocation. And on the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation for you. Another holy party. Okay? So you're going to have one on the first day, one on the 7th day. No manner of work shall be done on them, but that which everyone must eat, that only may be prepared by you. You can't fix your neighbor's meal. You can share your lamb with him. You just can't fix his meal for him. Okay? So you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread for you. For on this same day I will have brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations as an everlasting ordinance. Before I get any further, y'all know why they said not to eat unleavened bread? Anybody know why God said don't leaven your bread? No leaven in the house. Nothing. No?
You use leaven, you have to let it rise. It takes time. And they didn't want to wait for the bread to rise.
You got it. God's like, how many times has someone told you, Lord's going to work for you, man? How many times have I told you, Chris, and you got a job, Lord's going to work for you, right? And you go, yeah, okay. And then I go, Lord's working for you, man. He's going to give you a job. And you're like, yeah, okay. It's been months now. And bam, you're finally like, yeah, it's never going to happen. But it does, right? It finally did. Well, God's been telling them, I'm gonna rescue you. And they're going, yeah, whatever. And he goes, I'm going to rescue you. And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. And he says, tonight, I don't want you to eat any leavened bread. Don't put any leaven in your bread, because you ain't going to have time for it to rise. I'm going to rescue you before the bread even has time to rise. Keep the leaven out of the bread. Okay? Keep the leaven out of the bread. You okay?
Skyline.
Oh. Don't be doing that, man. You scare me. So anyway, that's what the whole leaven was for. The Lord said, don't put leaven in your bread, because you ain't going to have time for it to rise, okay? And so this is the whole feast there. He says, so you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for on this same day I will have brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations as an everlasting ordinance. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread. Okay, on the 14th day of the month, what else is supposed to happen? Kill the lambs, right? So you're killing lambs and you're going to eat unleavened bread, all right? Until the 21st day of the month at evening. For 7 days no leaven shall be found in your houses. Since whoever eats what is leavened, that same person shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he is a stranger or a native of the land. You shall eat nothing leavened. In all your dwellings you shall eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for the elders of Israel and said to them, pick out and take lambs for yourselves according to your families, and kill the Passover lamb. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 doorposts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out of the door of his house until morning. Anybody know what the blood on the doorposts is all about? Why did he tell him to do that? Why did he say, what I want you to do is kill a lamb, and then I want you to take that blood off of that lamb, and I want you to smack it on your doorpost?
So they knew not to kill the firstborn of that house.
Very true. I mean, if you want to think technical, yes, that's exactly what it was. So,
Big foresight.
exactly. Looking forward to something. There is something, something out there that one day will be a sacrificial lamb. It will be a lamb that will be killed.
Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus. Right? Okay. So Jesus will be killed, and his blood will be placed on the doorpost of your life across you, that will save you, right? From being taken. You got that? To a place you don't want to go. That's what this is representing. This is one of the first things, right? That God is giving us, saying this is how it's going to happen. It's giving us a peek into the cross. Okay? Verse 23, for the Lord will pass through to strike the Egyptians, and when he sees the blood on the lintel and on the 2 doorposts, the Lord will pass over the door and not allow the destroyer to come into your houses to strike you. Making sense now?
Now, do you think,
Go for it.
just by chance, that any of the Egyptians observing the children of Israel at this time, after everything they've been through, that maybe some of the Egyptians were like, whatever they're doing, I'll do it.
If you watch Charlton Heston, you would see that there was a few Egyptians that had some blood on their doorposts. But I don't know. Maybe they did. That was Hollywood. Okay. Actually, as we get onto this, I want to do something else, but let's move on. But yeah, that's a possibility. I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I know if I was an Egyptian and all the stuff that was going on, I'd be going, whatever they're doing, I'm doing too.
Yeah, like, why you getting a lamb?
I know, right? I'm going to get me a lamb too, right? Okay. Anyway, verse 23, for the Lord will pass through to strike the Egyptians. When he sees the blood on the lintel and on 2 doorposts, the Lord will pass over the door and not allow the destroyer to come into your houses to strike you. And you shall observe this thing as an ordinance for you and your sons. How long? Forever. Forever, right? It will come to pass when you come to the land which the Lord will give you, just as he promised, that you shall keep this service. Why should you keep this service?
Passover.
And it shall be when your children say to you, What do you mean by this service? That you shall say, it is the Passover sacrifice of the Lord, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt when he struck the Egyptians and delivered our household. In other words, they're saying, you keep on doing this every single year because y'all ain't got no mind. You can't remember anything. And when your kids go, why'd you do that? You go, this is why. And you do it every year. And then when the kids get older, guess what they're going to do? They're going to do the same thing, right? They'll do this. And then when their kids get older, they can pass that down. Because if you don't, God knows we forget. Right. We got to pass down the Passover. We forget. We're crazy people, man. We don't remember things. I can't remember what I had for dinner last night, much less the lamb that he wants me to remember, right? It says, so the people bowed their heads and worshipped. Then the children of Israel went away and did so. Just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did. And it came to pass at midnight that the Lord struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt. We think about 600,000 men, but those were the slaves. How many Egyptian families were there?
Not as many as the children of Israel.
Yeah, there were more. There were more.
That's why they made them slaves, because they were getting.
They were getting too big, but there were more.
They got afraid of them.
They were getting big. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, there's a whole bunch of people that died that night. Whole bunch of people that died that night. Everybody, everywhere. And it came to pass at midnight that the Lord struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt. Well, if you were a twin and you were worried about who was the firstborn at that time, I know, right? It's like, was you born first or was I born first? Which one was it? I know, right?
Man, I'm done.
And it came to pass, right? Let's see, and it came to pass at midnight, right, that the firstborn was from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the livestock. So Pharaoh rose in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. There was not a house where there was not one dead. Then he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, rise up, arise, go out from among my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go and serve the Lord as you have said. Also take your flocks and your herds as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also. And the Egyptians urged the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, we shall all be dead. So the people took their dough before it was leavened, having their kneading bowls bound up in their clothes on their shoulders. Now the children of Israel had done according to the word of Moses, and they had asked from the Egyptians articles of silver, articles of gold, and clothing. And the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they granted them what they have requested. Thus they plundered the Egyptians. Then the children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot besides children. A mixed multitude went up with them also, and flocks and herds, a great deal of livestock. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they had brought out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were driven out of Egypt and could not wait, nor had they prepared provisions for themselves. Now, another thing I just want to point out here as we go on. Can you imagine? I really don't think you can. Can you imagine 600,000 men and their families leaving Egypt at one time? And then throw in all the animals. If they had to kill 500,000 lambs. Okay? And that was just one lamb per family. They had camels, they had donkeys, they had lambs, they had goats, they had chickens, they had ducks, they had all kinds of animals. It was their flocks, their herds. They probably had cows and I don't know what all else. So now, like I said, this is what I was going to tell you. I got online today while I was studying, and I pulled up the old Charlton Heston 10 Commandments, and there's a clip in there of them leaving Egypt, and that is not even close to what it was. But that was crazy. Seeing I just can't imagine the exodus that took place. You're probably talking, I'm going to roughly guess, a couple million, 3 million, maybe 4 or 5 people. Just people. And then on top of that, you probably got, I'm going to throw it out there, 10, 20 million animals. All leaving Egypt. Talk about a miracle in itself. That has got to have been one sight, I'm telling you. You could probably be in a helicopter looking down on it and not even see the end of the people. Now, imagine yourself as an Egyptian sitting on the hillside watching these people leave. I know, right? That had to be crazy, wild just to imagine this, okay? But anyway, if you get a chance, look up on YouTube just the clip of the Exodus from the 10 Commandments and watch. It's only like 5 minutes. I was going to show it tonight, but the Facebook gods would have killed my feed and got us in trouble, and Candace, so I didn't do that. So if you got a few minutes, flip over to YouTube and look that up, just the Exodus from the 10 Commandments, and it'll give you kind of an idea. And as you watch it, start thinking about that, what I just said. I mean, you don't really picture it until you start thinking about that and thinking, man, that is crazy, just seeing that, okay? Okay, verse 40. Now the sojourn of the children of Israel who lived in Egypt was 430 years. So how long were they in Egypt? 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, when? On the very same day, it came to pass. So that means 430 years from the time that who?
Joseph.
No. Joseph's dad.
Jacob.
430 years from the day that Jacob stepped foot in Egypt, his family was on the way out. To the day. To the day. That's God working right there. All right. And it came to pass at the end of 430 years, on that very same day, it came to pass that all the armies of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. It is a night of solemn observance to the Lord for bringing them out of the land of Egypt. This is that night of the Lord, a solemn observance for all the children of Israel throughout their generations. Now, I'm just going to throw something else out there, kind of one of those Tom facts that I come across every once in a while. I know, right? Tomatary. Like that. So, as the Lord picks this specific day, why do you think that He's picked this very specific day? It's supposed to be their first month, and then it's supposed to be their 14th day of the month, that night? Anybody know? So as I did some study on this, it's the month of Adar, I believe is what it is. Adar. The 14th day of the month of Adar is the full moon. And they left when? At night, right?
So they had to move to go. I mean, it's like,
Well, they had a lot to do once dusk happened because they weren't even supposed to kill the lambs until it began to get dusk. Okay, remember that up there? So they had plenty time. They had plenty light. It was a full moon. They could kill the lamb. They could drain the blood. They could get the blood on the doorpost. I mean, this is an undertaking in the least. And then they could eat and still pack up and head out. That's one thing I didn't notice from the Ten Commandments movie when they were leaving Egypt. When they were leaving Egypt, it was actually daytime. So the guy that wrote the Ten Commandments must not have read that it was night. But anyway, I know, right? Hollywood. So it is a night of solemn observance to the Lord for bringing them out of the land of Egypt. This is the night of the Lord, a solemn observance for the children of Israel throughout their generations. And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. No foreigner shall eat of it, but every man's servant who is bought for money, when you have circumcised him, then he may eat. A sojourner and a hired servant shall not eat it. In one house it shall be eaten. You shall not carry any of the flesh outside the house, nor shall you break one of its bones. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger dwells with you and wants to keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as a native of the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat it. One law shall be for the native born and for the stranger who dwells among you. In other words, it's what it is. It is what it is. There ain't no exceptions.
You can't join my Passover unless you are a circumcised,
Yeah,
brother.
you got it. Hey, Dave, that lamb sure looks good. Tom, you need to be circumcised. Lamb don't look that good. I think I'll be out there eating something else because I ain't coming in there. I know, right? No way. Thus the children of Israel did as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did. And it came to pass on that very same day that the Lord brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt according to their armies. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, consecrate to me all the firstborn. Whoever opens a womb among the children of Israel, both of man and beast, it is mine. Why is God claiming this?
Why is he claiming the firstborn? Because Jesus was his firstborn.
I'm going to have to say,
I understand that he didn't have any more, but technically he was still the firstborn.
I'm going to have to, I know where you're going with it, but I am going to have to disagree.
No, look, my book says, let me put my, I'm getting old.
Okay, put your readers on and tell me what the book says.
It says the Israelites' firstborn were to be consecrated to God perpetually as a reminder of the Israelites' redemption by the death of Egypt's firstborn. Jesus was consecrated to God in accordance with his law, and he was Mary's firstborn son.
Yes, but
But
there's always a but in there.
this is the Bible in their book.
It says that he wants the firstborn of all animals from Israel and all children of Israel. When they put the blood on the doorposts, God passed over Israel, but he took every firstborn of Egypt. So God was saying, I saved your child. I saved all of your animals, and I didn't take them. I didn't kill them. And so they belong to me. They belong to me. Yes, Jesus, it is that too, encompassing, but what he's saying, more importantly, is they belong to me because I didn't take them that night. I could have. I took all of Egypt. You were in Egypt. Get it? They were in Egypt. They were living in Egypt. They shouldn't have been, but they were still. And God said, they're mine. I didn't take them, but they're consecrated to me. Does that make sense? No? You didn't get it?
I think it makes sense.
I think you
But I
did.
kind of worry about a little bit some firstborn.
You should be. All right. Well, no, you shouldn't. It said firstborn male.
I'll just try to tell my
Wait a minute.
parents how to wait during delivery.
Oh, no. All right, verse 3. And Moses said to the people, remember this day in which you went out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand the Lord brought you out of this place. No leavened bread shall be eaten. Have you noticed that he wants to make sure that they don't eat leavened bread? He says this a lot, okay? Why? Because we're slow, right?
Yes, men are.
That's it. On this day you are going out in the month of Abib, okay? And it shall be when the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, which he swore to your father to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day there shall be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and no unleavened bread shall be seen among you, nor shall leaven be seen among you in all your quarters. And you shall tell your son in that day, saying, this is done because of what the Lord did for me when I came up from Egypt. It shall be as a sign to you on your hand and as a memorial between your eyes, that the Lord's law may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand the Lord has brought you out of Egypt. You shall therefore keep this ordinance in its season from year to year. And it shall be, when the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and your fathers and gives it to you, that you shall set apart to the Lord all that open the womb, that is, every firstborn that comes from an animal which you have, the males shall be the Lord's. But every firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. And if you will not redeem it, then you shall break its neck. And all the firstborn of man among your sons you shall redeem. So it shall be, when your sons ask you in time to come, saying, what is this that you shall say to him? By strength of hand, the Lord brought us out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh was stubborn about letting us go, that the Lord killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore, I sacrifice to the Lord all males that open the womb, but all the firstborn of my sons I redeem. Now you get it?
Okay, so I don't worry about so much now that takes care of one of my annoying brothers.
There you go. So now y'all get what I was saying? That's what that's why God wanted the firstborn of all of Egypt, because just like he says here, the Lord killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt. Therefore, I sacrifice to the Lord all males that open the womb, but all the firstborn of my sons I redeem. What does it mean, redeem?
Save.
Save, yes. Somewhat. Huh?
Cleaned up, renewed.
To regain possession of in exchange for payment. That's basically what it means. Verse 16. It shall be as a sign on your hand and as frontlets between your eyes, for this by strength of hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt. Then it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God did not lead them by way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near, for God said, What?
Unless the people change their minds when they see war or return to Egypt.
Why would he do that? These guys were slaves. They have been in Egypt their entire life. They've never been outside of Egypt, ever. They've never had to fight. They've never had to fight a war. They've never had to fight a battle. They fought amongst themselves, but they've never had to fight an actual war or a battle, okay? And so God didn't want to take them to the Philistines because the Philistines would have wanted to fight with them, right? They would have wanted to go to war. And so the Lord says, if I take the Israelites right now at this point in stage in their life and take them into the land of the Philistines, they're going to freak out and they're going to turn around and they're going to go back to Egypt. We don't want that. So he goes, I'm not going to do that, okay? It says, so God led the people around by the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up in orderly ranks out of the land of Egypt. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had placed the children of Israel under solemn oath, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here with you. So they took their journey from Succoth and camped in Etham at the edge of the wilderness, and the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. I'd be tired after a while. They're traveling night and day. I'd be tired.
You talk about a slave driver.
I know, right? Bad one.
Buddy was good.
That's a bad one.
He's just mad 'cause he-
Everybody step this way. He did not take away the pillar of cloud by day or the pillar of fire by night from before the people. When you're dealing with things in your life, you have to understand that God will never take himself away from you. No matter how hard it may get, no matter how dark it may get, no matter what you're having to deal with here, it says he did not take away the pillar of cloud by day or the pillar of fire by night from before the people. You have to understand, God will never remove himself from you. He will always be there. He will always be watching over you. He'll always know how to guide you. You just kind of have to look for that. Sometimes you have to look for it, you know?
Even though it says that they traveled by night, of course they slept. But the pillar of fire also represents security and protection from the Lord.
Right. Amen. That's it, man. I'm telling you.
That no matter where they went, the Lord was always going to protect them.
Always. Even at the Red Sea.
That's right.
Whoo! Chapter 14. Now the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel that they turn and camp before between Migdol and the sea, opposite Baal-zephon. You shall camp before it by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are bewildered by the land. Why would they be bewildered by the land?
Because they've never seen anything like that.
They'd never been out of Egypt, right? They'd never been there. They were confused. They didn't know where they were going, right?
Well, what's that big body of water? They've never seen anything that big.
Right. They've seen the Nile, but that's it. They didn't have no idea. So they are bewildered by the land. The wilderness has closed them in. Then I will harden Pharaoh's heart so that he will pursue them. And I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over all his armies, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so. Now it was told the king of Egypt that the people had fled. Like he didn't know. Right? Yeah, he didn't know.
I need some bricks.
I know, right? Oh, wait a minute. I can't get those, right? And the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people, and they said, why have we done this? That we have let Israel go from serving us. So he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. Also, he took 600 choice chariots and all the chariots of Egypt with captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with boldness. What does that mean?
They weren't afraid. They was going to go anyway.
They weren't afraid, man. They weren't afraid at all. I could actually picture them as they're walking out, going, we're out of here. I know, right? You got it, man. That's what going out in boldness means. I think they were a little taunting, Of course they were. All the gold, they had all the gold and all the silver and all the stuff. They'd plundered all of Egypt and they were like, woo, here we are, right? So the Egyptians pursued them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, his horsemen and his army, and overtook them camping by the sea, beside Pi-hahiroth, before Baal-zephon. Okay? And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. So they were afraid. Wait a minute, they went in boldness, but now they're afraid. How many of us start our Christian walk in boldness? And then we get afraid. We get a little scared. We get a little worried. Start letting the cares of the world seep into our lives. It's what happened to them. We look at this and we go, man, I wouldn't have been afraid. I got the pillar of fire and pillar of smoke, and God's always with me, and I'm good. And look at all the gold we got, and He rescued us, and all those plagues that He did. I'm good. We can say that. But as soon as things start turning bad for us, and we turn around and we look and we go, there's no way out. What do I do? I miss my house. I miss the food. I miss the water. And we get afraid. Just like they did. Right? Then they said to Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, have you taken us away to die in the wilderness? Why have you dealt with us to bring us up out of Egypt? Is this not the word that we told you in Egypt, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? Wait a minute. Look, guys, just a couple days ago, y'all were walking out screaming and yelling and partying and to Pharaoh and all this stuff, right? You guys were having, and now, what? You wanted to be left there? But you can't take the Egypt out of the slaves. You got it. That's why they walked in the desert for 40 years.
But their clothes didn't wear out.
But their clothes didn't wear out. Their shoes didn't wear off. Whew. And Moses said to the people, do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which He will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see again no more forever. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. And the Lord said to Moses, why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward. I know, right? I could see it, Moses is standing there in front of all of Israel, and he goes, keep on going. Anybody? Who's first? It's probably like me asking y'all if you got an answer, right? Anybody? Anybody? He's probably going, anybody want to go? And they're all going, no. Look at that water. I ain't going that way, right? But lift up your rod. Stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. That probably would have been a little weird for him, right? Moses standing, you want me to do what?
I don't know. I don't think he'd been too about it after everything he had already done previously in Egypt. And God had been like, I want you to part the sea. I got this.
Well, that may very well. You may be right. Me, on the other hand, I'm not that confident of myself. I probably would have said, I don't know if that's going to work here, Lord. Right? Okay? I know. I do that. I do that. I'm not. I know, right? We all have that time when we question God. And it's okay to do that. As long as we still do what he tells us to do. You know, I could say, I don't know, Lord. I'm not really sure that water is going to part. But I'm still going to put it out there and say, go ahead if that's what you want to do. Right? And the children of Israel shall go on dry land through the midst of the sea. And I indeed will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. So I will gain honor over Pharaoh, and over all his army, his chariots, and his horsemen. Then the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gained honor for myself over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. And the angel of God, who went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud went from before them and stood behind them. So the pillar of cloud was over the water, okay? And it went from back there over the water, it went to behind them, between them and the armies of Egypt, okay? So it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. Thus it was a cloud and darkness to one. Who would that be? The Egypt, right? Okay. And it gave light by night to the other, Israel. So that one did not come near the other all that night. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. A lot of these things you see, pictures and all this stuff, you see this sea just kind of part, right? And this little strip of nothing, like as wide as this doorway here, right? This aisleway, that's what you see in the pictures and on all this stuff. But that's not what had happened. You got over 3 million people and 10 million animals to get across. Oh my goodness. Maybe even more than that, right? Because they only had a little short time to get across. They only had that night, okay? And part of that night was taken up by the wind, okay, to dry the ground, okay? Anybody go diving before?
You're funny.
Hey, I do it. When you go diving and you go down to the floor of the ocean, you stick your foot down and you'll sink. There's a lot of wet. It's mud, right? It's mud or sand or whatever, okay? So he dried up all that ground. That took a little while, but he did it, okay? It wasn't instantaneous. He said it literally says that there was a strong east wind that went by all night to dry this ground. And then Israel had to go across, okay? So the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. I don't know about y'all. Have you pictured it? You have this wall of cloud, darkness, okay? And you're camped over here, knowing that Israel's right on the other side of that wall of cloud, and they're not going anywhere. They can't, right? And you're all waiting, right? Everybody's with their spears and their chucks and their whatever they got. And then all of a sudden, the cloud rises, and the ocean that was before you is not there anymore. And you see Moses and his crew climbing up the other side of the ocean, right? Climbing up the wall on the other side, and you're like, whoa. I don't know about you, but after what happened back home, I'd be going, see y'all. I'm not going down there. Ain't no way I'm going down there. You know, Little shark head poking out of the one side of the water, right? Going boop, boop, boop.
I was just thinking that, going, there's been a guy like me walking along that water going, what the hell was that?
I know, right? What is that? But anyway, they went ahead and followed him here, okay? And the Egyptians pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. Now it came to pass in the morning watch that the Lord looked down upon the armies of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and cloud, and he troubled the armies of the Egyptians. This is hilarious. This is a Saturday Night Live skit come to life, okay? And he took off the chariot wheels. So here they are. Okay, we're chasing them, and all of a sudden their chariot wheels start falling off. Didn't you tighten that up before we left? Right? Okay. Their chariot wheels, so that they drove them with difficulty. And the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fights for them against the Egyptians. Too late! Now they're halfway across this ocean, and they're going, okay, turn around. We're going home now. I can imagine some of the guys getting out of the chariots that lost their wheels and running towards the other side, right? This is I'm telling you, the angels had to be laughing.
Oh, so, oh.
Heaven had to be rejoicing. There had to have been a party in heaven with them. It was better than watching a movie. All right?
Going, God going, hey, y'all, watch this.
I know, right?
Watch your wheels go.
It had to be awesome. All right? Then the Lord said to Moses, okay, you got one Egyptian, one really stubborn one, right? And he's still chasing Moses. And he gets over to just about the other side, and the Lord says, stretch out your hand over the sea. And just as Moses starts picking up that staff, the one little Egyptian dude goes, I messed up. Right? I know, this is all bad. Stretch out your hand over the sea that the waters may come back upon the Egyptians, on their chariots and on their horsemen. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and when the morning appeared, the sea returned to its full depth, while the Egyptians were fleeing into it. So the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. Then the waters returned and covered the chariots, the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. Not so much as one of them remained. But the children of Israel had walked on dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. So the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. They hung around long enough to watch them wash up on the beach. Man, talk about the land stinking, right? Thus Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt. So the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. Then Moses and the children of Israel sang this song to the Lord and spoke, saying, I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. He is my God, and I will praise him, my father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he has cast into the sea. His chosen captains also are drowned in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them. They sank to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Lord, has become glorious in power. Your right hand, O Lord, has dashed the enemy in pieces. And in the greatness of your excellence, you have overthrown those who rose against you. You sent forth your wrath. It consumed them like stubble. And with the blast of your nostrils, the waters were gathered together. The flood stood upright like a heap. The depths congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My desire shall be satisfied on them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them. They sank like, what? Well, I did. understand it either.
Said your hair looks nice.
I know, right? I don't know what in the world that stood. You blew with your wind. The sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Lord, among the gods? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? You stretched out your right hand. The earth swallowed them. You in your mercy have fled forth. Of people whom you have redeemed, you have guided them in your strength to your holy habitation. The people will hear and be afraid. Sorrow will take hold of the inhabitants of Philistia. Then the chiefs of Edom will be dismayed. The mighty men of Moab, trembling, will take hold of them. All the inhabitants of Canaan will melt away. Did you see what they're talking about here? Are you recognizing what they're saying? They're saying, now remember, they're on their way to Canaan, okay, to take the land, right? They're on their way to take the land flowing with milk and honey, okay? And now they're saying, we saw what you did, God. When we get there ain't no chance for them people. When we get there, I'm taking it all. But do they? How soon they forget, right? As soon as they get to the wall of Canaan, what do? They're like, yeah, we can't go in there. There's giants in there. We know you can split the Red Sea and take us across on dry ground, but I'm not really sure we can kill the giants, right? That's what they're saying here. They're saying, we're not afraid. When we get there, we've got this, God. We got it, right? Fear and dread will fall on them by the greatness of your arm. They will be as still as stone till your people pass over, O Lord, till the people pass over whom you have purchased. You will bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Lord, which you have made for your own dwelling, the sanctuary, O Lord, which your hands have established. The Lord shall reign forever and ever. For the horses of Pharaoh went with his chariots and his horsemen into the sea, and the Lord brought back the waters of the sea upon them, but the children of Israel went out on dry land in the midst of the sea. Then Miriam, anybody remember who Miriam was?
Yeah, Moses' sister.
Moses' sister, okay?
His big sister.
Right. Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, and the sister of Moses, okay, took the tremble in her hand. What's a tremble? It's not being scared. Yeah, there you go. Tambourine type thing. There you go. Took the tremble in her hand, and all the women went out after her with trembles and with dances. And they just crossed the Red Sea. They're having a party. They're having a party. Okay? The girls are dancing and singing, right? It says, sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. So they just left the party, all right? They just had a big party. They crossed the sea. They're saying, man, I'm telling you, ain't nothing can stop us now. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days into the wilderness. 3 days after they crossed the Red Sea. 3 days after they had a party. 3 days after they sang and danced and talked about how nobody can stop them now, right? Now when they came to Moriah, they could not drink the waters of Moriah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Moriah. And the people complained against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? So he cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree. When he cast it into the waters were made sweet. There he made a statute and an ordinance for them. And there he tested them and said, if you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his sight, give ear to his command, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on you for which I have brought it on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. Then they came to Eliam, where they were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees. So they camped there by the waters. So now they went through the desert. They complained about not having water after they just went through all the stuff, okay? So they complain about that. God gives them water. And then God moves them to an oasis. Literally an oasis in the desert, okay? Water, palm trees, probably some coconuts, bananas maybe, I don't know, right?
Figs.
Huh?
Figs.
Figs, whatever it is, whatever it was. I don't know. Figs don't grow on palm trees.
They grow on fig trees.
Right. I don't know. They said they had 70 palm trees. What grows on a palm tree? Palms? Palms. I don't know. Chapter 16. And they journeyed from Elim, and all the so here they are. They've been at the oasis for a while. They got their fill. Their bellies are full. They got plenty of water. They've restocked their water, and off they go again into the desert, right? And all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month. How long have they been gone? No. The 15th day of the second month. They left on the 14th day of the first month. Been gone 1 month and 1 day, right? And on however long their month was, okay? 1 month and 1 day now. After they departed from the land of Egypt, then the whole congregation of the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. The children of Israel said to them, "Oh, that we had died in the land of the Lord, in the land of Egypt. Oh, that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat and when we ate bread to the full. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill the whole assembly with hunger." Wait a minute. We were just saying how nobody had a chance, right?
All they do is complain to Moses. You know?
Ain't that like what we do?
And I can picture the frustration in Moses' face.
Kind of like me at work, huh? It's like, oh. It's like, ah. No, I can see that. I mean, it's like, what in the world, right? What in the world are wrong with you people? They're tired.
Some people.
I know, right?
Yeah, no, but they act like they can't fend for themselves.
And they act like God is not watching over them.
Yeah.
He's there. He's watching them. He's taking care of them every day, right? Ain't nobody, I know it's only been 1 month and 1 day. Ain't nobody died yet. Okay? I'm not going to let you die yet. Okay? Then the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day, that I may test them, whether they will walk in my law or not." He's getting ready to do what? He's getting ready to go give them the laws of the 10 Commandments, right? And so he's got them out there, and he goes, "Okay, before I give you 10 laws, let's see if you can follow one." Just one. I just want to give you one thing that you need to do, okay? "And gather a certain quota every day, that I may test them, whether they will walk in my law or not. And it shall be on the 6th day that they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily." Then Moses and Aaron said to the children of Israel, "At evening you shall know that the Lord has brought you out of the land of Egypt, and in the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord. For he hears your complaints against the Lord. But what are we that you complain against us?" Moses is like, God hears your complaints. Why you keep complaining to me? Right? He hears you. Don't keep complaining to me. I didn't do this to you. God's brought us out here, okay? Stop complaining to me. Also, Moses said, "This shall be seen when the Lord gives you meat to eat in the evening, and in the morning bread to the full. And the Lord hears your complaints which you make against him. And what are we? Your complaints are not against us, but against the Lord." Saying, quit complaining against me, guys. I am not the scapegoat here.
Yeah, you are.
I know, right? Then Moses spoke to Aaron, "Say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, come near before the Lord, for he has heard your complaints." Now it came to pass, as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "I have heard the complaints of the children of Israel. Speak to them, saying, at twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God. Now, do you think the children of Israel heard God talk at this time? Now it came to pass, as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. What do you think that looked like? The glory of the Lord appeared in a cloud. I bet you that was beautiful.
I can't even fathom.
I know, right? The glory of the Lord in a cloud. Wow. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, I have heard the complaints of the children of Israel. Speak to them, saying, at twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God. I think that they even heard him then a little bit, the thundering of the Lord speaking, because they saw him. You know, I don't know if they heard him or not, but I know they saw him. Okay, later on they actually hear him for real. I mean, for real. Okay, so it was that quails came up at evening and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay all around the camp. And when the layer of dew lifted, there on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance as fine as frost on the ground. So when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, what is it? For they did not know what it was. I don't want nobody going out in the morning and finding little pieces of frost on the ground and trying to eat it, all right? It probably will not taste the same, just letting you know. I know, right? Just because my dog licks the frost doesn't mean I'm going to. And Moses said to them, this is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat. This is the thing which the Lord has commanded. Let every man gather it according to each one's need. 1 omer for each person according to the number of persons. Let every man take for those who are in his tent. Then the children of Israel did so and gathered some more, some less. So when they measured it by omers, he who gathered much had nothing left over, and he who gathered little had no lack. So the fat guy who gathered a lot, right?
Ended up starving.
He ended up starving. No, he had plenty. He had plenty to fill his belly. And the other guys that didn't get a whole lot, didn't need a whole lot because they're little skinny people that just kind of eat little bits, right? They didn't have too much, okay?
Well, each man went out and gathered according to his needs.
According to his needs. And Moses said, let no one leave any of it till morning. Notwithstanding, what does that mean? It means they can't even follow one commandment. Okay? Notwithstanding, they did not heed Moses. But some of them left part of it until morning. Man, I can't eat all this. I think I'm going to set it on the bedstand and I'll have it for breakfast in the morning. Bad idea. Bad idea. And it bred worms and stank. And Moses was angry with them. So they gathered it every morning, every man according to his need. And when the sun became hot, it melted. And so it was on the 6th day that they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each one. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. Then he said to them, this is what the Lord has said. Tomorrow is a Sabbath rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. Bake what you will bake today, and boil what you will boil, and lay up for yourselves all that remains to be kept until morning. The guy that thought he was going to save a little bit until tomorrow, now they're saying, save some of that until tomorrow. He's probably going, I don't know if I really want to do that, because it stank pretty bad, and I had to get worms off of my tent the next morning. I don't know if I want to do that, right?
You only get enough for one day. Now you're telling me you get enough for 2 days.
Right. I mean, you're confusing me, Moses. I can't get it in my head. Anyway, so they laid up till morning as Moses commanded. It did not stink, nor were there any worms on it. Then Moses said, eat that today, for today is the Sabbath to the Lord. Today you will not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, there will be none. Now it happened. Those crazy Israelites. Now it happened that some of the people went out on the seventh day to gather. I'm going to go out and get some anyway. And they found none. And the Lord said to Moses, how long do you refuse to keep my commandments? How long do you refuse to listen to my laws? I give you one law, and you can't even listen to that. Not even one day, right? See, for the Lord has given you the Sabbath, therefore he gives you on the sixth day bread for 2 days. Let every man remain in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. So the people rested on the seventh day, and the house of Israel called its name manna, and it was like a white coriander seed, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. Then Moses said, this is the thing which the Lord has commanded. Fill an omer with it to be kept for generations. They may see the bread which I have fed you with in the wilderness, then when I brought you out of the land of Egypt. And Moses said to Aaron, take a pot and put an omer of manna in it and lay it up before the Lord to be kept for all your generations. As the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. And the children of Israel ate manna 40 years. 40 years.
Yeah, that'd be tiring.
40 years.
Nobody got fat.
And nobody got fat.
Can I get some hot sauce or something?
Right? We get tired when we had pizza 2 days in a row.
Wait, you get tired of pizza 2 days in a row?
What's the matter with you?
3 days in a row.
3 days in a row, 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row. This is Blanchester. The only thing you can eat is pizza and hamburgers and hot dogs. Yeah, well.
You know what? We've been striking out on Subway.
Yeah, Subway's not been that great lately. Oh my goodness, that's horrible.
We don't curse in
She's
church.
never been to this McDonald's, so.
Yes, I have.
Phew, it's nasty.
No.
And the children of Israel ate manna 40 years until they came to an inhabited land. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. Now, an omer is 1/10 of an ephah. Did that clear? I knew y'all had the question of what an omer was, so I just thought I'd fill that in and let you know it's 1/2 of an ephah. Okay?
So how much,
Or 1/10 of an ephah.
so how much is an ephah? 10 hours?
Don't ask that.
10 hours?
No, it's 1/10. So it's 10. It's an ephah is 10 ephahs is an omer. Okay, and 1 omer is 1/10 of an ephah. No, wait a minute.
You're confusing everybody.
That's the whole idea, because I don't know the answer. So if I confuse everybody, we're all good.
Here we go. An ephah. A dry measure equal to the liquid measure bath, estimated as 3/8 to 2/3 of a bushel, scale, and honest. There you go.
All right, that clears it up for everybody, right?
Not really.
All right, not for me either. Almost a bushel. An honest bushel. An honest
So
bushel.
what's an honest bushel?
Different than a dishonest one.
I knew that.
So if you're too dishonest, is that an honest?
I don't know, maybe. Then all the congregation of the children of Israel set out on their journey from the wilderness of Sin, according to the commandment of the Lord, and camped in there. And but there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore, the people contended with Moses and said, give us water that we may drink. So Moses said to them, why do you contend with me? Stop blaming me. I didn't do this. Why do you tempt the Lord? And the people thirsted there for water. And the people complained against Moses and said, why is it you have brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst? So Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, what shall I do with this people? What shall I do with this? They are almost ready to stone me. And the Lord said to Moses, go on before the people, take with you some of the elders of Israel. Also take in your hand your rod with which you struck the river, and go. Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock in Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. So he called the name of the place Mesa and Meribah, because of the contention of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, Is the Lord among us or not? Now Amalek came and fought with Israel and there, and Moses said to Joshua, Choose us some men and go out, fight with Amalek. They've been out for a while now. Still haven't fought a battle. Ain't never fought a battle yet, okay? And so Moses tells Joshua, he says, I want you to go out, pick some men, okay? I want you to go out and fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses said to him and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And so it was when Moses held up his hand, okay, got his rod in his hand, and he's holding it up, right? As he held up his hand, Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands become heavy. After a while, he's getting tired, right?
Well, no, he's like 80 years old.
Yeah, he's getting tired of holding that rod up in the air. I don't know if God told him to hold that up or if Moses was like, I'm just going to go up there and hold the rod up. It doesn't tell us. It doesn't tell us that God said. So I'm kind of wondering, was Moses so sure of himself that he said, okay, I'm going to go up there and hold the rod up and y'all going to win? He didn't think that through very well, did he? Didn't think that through very well.
Once like all of a sudden, boom, Amalek's there to fight him.
Yeah.
Where'd they come from?
I know, right? Where in the world did that come from, right? So here he is. He's holding up his rod, and they're winning, and his hand starts getting a little tired, and all of a sudden you start losing one guy, and then 10 guys, and then 15 guys, and then 20 guys. And raises it back up, and he starts winning again, and then he starts losing one guy, and then 2 guys, and then 3 guys. And then Pauletta comes up here and holds my arm up. says, here, let me help you, because you look tired. And I'm going, yeah, I am tired. I need some help, right?
Was his hand getting tired or was he nodding off because he's old?
It could be either one. I have the same problem.
You hold up a pencil for so long and see how long you can hold just a pencil.
Exactly. And he's holding a rod, right?
It's probably windy up on a mountain.
Yeah. And Joshua did as Moses said to him and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, so it was when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed, and when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands become heavy. And so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. So Joshua defeated Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, write this for a memorial in the book and recount it in the hearing of Joshua, that I will utterly blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. As we read in the Bible, you're going to find where this happens, okay? And Moses built an altar and called its name, The Lord is my banner. For he said, because the Lord has sworn, the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. And that is where we end. That's the end of our study for tonight. Any questions, thoughts, comments, ideas, or anything anybody wants to add to this?
And this book says, the area they traveled even today has zinc cotton, a white sweet substance that is added.
I read that, but I don't. It said it was sweet too, right?
Yeah, it says it's sweet, it's white, cotton, white, sweet substance that is added.
Yeah, I read that.
I don't know if it's.
I think it was the other day.
end of that.
Right.
It's a-
Is it really the manna, or is it just something that just happens to look like that? I would almost say it could possibly be somewhat of a remembrance of it.
Go eat it. Probably be healthy.
Probably would. Probably wouldn't get as fat as I am now, eating all the food I eat now. Anything else?
There's one other place to eat in Blanchester, by the way, that you left out.
Where?
Kroger's.
Kroger's. Their chicken ain't always done.
Their chicken's okay. Yeah. All right, let's pray. Lord, thank you for letting us come into your house this evening to read your word. Lord, I pray that you go out with us tonight and you just keep us safe. Go out with us in a pillar of cloud or a pillar of fire, however you want to take us out, Lord, and just watch over us and take care of us. Lord, bring us back this Sunday, Lord. Lord, I pray that all the prayer requests that we spoke of, Lord, you're big enough to take care of every single one of them. Lord, I just thank you for all that you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen.